How y'all doing? We back again. It's day 6 of the Redemption Summit. Today we're gonna talk about law. I have the queen of the summit in the building, Miss Nicole. I hope y'all been enjoying the previous Sundays. We talked about entrepreneurship. We talked about credit. We talked about life insurance. We talked about leadership, finances. So now we're gonna talk about some law. I'm gonna let Miss Nicole introduce herself. Then we'll go from there.
So I'm trying to figure out how to share it. Hold on. Sorry.
Okay, well, you know, this has been. I had to when I was putting this summit together. I had to think of the different categories that I wanted to talk about each day, and I had to talk about. I had to make sure I discuss law. Personal law, business law. I was caught up in a situation when my father died. He died without a will. He died. I went through 5 years of probate court, and the situation had it placed a toll on my life mentally. It was a very embarrassing situation, but it was a learning situation. So after I got finished with probate court, I went back to school and got my business degree, so I can learn about how to structure businesses, how to handle business, how I wouldn't put my kids basically in the same situation that I was in. So it taught me a lot. I learned a lot. It was a great experience. You know what I'm saying? The best lesson that you can get in life is sometimes bought. So that's why I had to go and I had to bring in the top-notch attorney out of Mississippi. So, Miss Nicole, would you introduce yourself and you know, you ready? You good?
I'm better. I think I
Okay.
shared the video. I hope I shared the video.
Yeah, you
Um,
good.
okay, very good. I'm glad to share this time with you. I appreciate you inviting me. I'm glad that we're going to have this conversation because it's obviously what I do for a living, but it's what I'm passionate about, and that is educating people and making sure that they don't have necessarily the same experience that you've had and that so many of us have had just because we didn't know. So I'm Nicole Clinkscales. I practice law in Columbus. I tend to practice across the Golden Triangle. So the 4 counties, I tend to be in and outside of every court that you can think of, from justice, municipal, circuit, chancery, federal, and every place in between. I've been in Columbus now for, I guess a little over 10 years, 2006, almost 15 years. I've been in Columbus, and I've been in solo practice for 15 years. And my greatest, I think, joy that I take away from this is being back in my hometown, to be able to practice law among people that I know and that I love, and to hopefully be able to give them quality legal services every chance that I get. So I'm happy to talk, just kind of shoot the breeze for a minute as we get comfortable in our conversation. But I
Right.
don't like talking about myself. So let's talk
Well,
about what we like talking about.
okay then. I understand.
Yes, yes.
So this what we're gonna get into.
Mhm.
Why did you decide to become an attorney? What what,
For
what
the
was it?
very reason that you said, because it is an area that we've oftentimes, and when I say we, I'm talking about Black people, that we have been on the short end of the deal because we did not know. Um, we're still continuing to expose ourselves and to become familiar with the law as a people. And not only that, to become part of the process of creating laws that will be just and equitable so that we're included in the thought process when these laws are being made. So I was a little girl. I tell this story a lot. I was a little girl. I remember I was 8 years old. And I remember telling my mom that I was going to be a lawyer. At that time, we lived in the projects, the housing projects on South Side of Columbus. I had never seen or met a lawyer in person. Definitely didn't know any Black female lawyers. But I watched TV and I liked Perry Mason and I liked Andy Griffin.
Right.
Ben Matlock. And so I would watch them all the time. And they were, of course, both men, but they were practicing law. And I just had an admiration for what they were able to do in a courtroom and just on behalf of their clients. And I liked it. So I told my mom I was going to be a lawyer at the age of 8. And the rest is just kind of the process of getting to that point. So that's why. I will say this, though, that never having seen Black female lawyers, didn't know what that looked like, didn't know how to go about getting to that place. I remember the first female lawyer that I could truly remember was Claire Huxtable on The Cosby Show. And that may seem kind of odd, but as a young girl, seeing her, there was something regal and admirable about the way she carried herself as a lawyer. She was confident, and I was drawn to that. And so I say that not because, that's a TV show, it's fictitious, but because we need exposure, and our kids can't be what they can't see. So for me, it was the struggle of trying to emulate something that I had never seen. But I'm glad that I did have those images, at least on television, to show me what I could be. So that's how I decided to become a lawyer.
Great. So as being an attorney, you stepping into a new life. The spotlight is on you. You're in Mississippi. Not too many females attorney. What has been your biggest challenges and accomplishments as an attorney?
The biggest, and I hate to quantify it in that way, but I will just say some of the challenges is obviously in having a sense of certainty about what you're doing. If your dad was a mechanic and you sat at his feet and you watched him work on cars and change oils and tires and all of that, you learn by example and you gain confidence in doing that. Well, for me, there were no lawyers in my family. There were no Black female lawyers in our community, and there was no one to emulate. So gaining the confidence to determine how I wanted to practice law, what that would look like for me, that's been a huge challenge. And not having a mentor. So I spend a lot of time mentoring girls, and people don't always understand why, but I do that because I want to fill the gap where I didn't have a role model or a mentor in the legal profession that could show me the ropes. So that's filling my way out has been the biggest challenge, and just trying to, grow in the process of practicing law. So that's been a huge challenge, but and it's one I still face today. I'll be quite honest with you. I'm more than 20 years in the practice, and still every day we call it a practice for a reason, because you're learning, the law changes, your clients' needs change. So you're constantly having to, continue to learn and to shift and to make adjustments. So that's a challenge, because you can never say that I've learned everything I need to know and I've amassed a certain level of, skill or expertise. You can just say I've had experience.
That's great. So let's get down to some business.
Yeah, let's talk about the law.
Right. when a person goes and they want to come and talk to an attorney about a will and trust, what is the hope to achieve with obtaining those documents?
Control. And I say that because people are oftentimes afraid of talking about preparing an estate. So what we're talking about when he says a will and a trust, those are legal documents. They're legal documents that create vehicles by which you can control your assets, or you can dictate what's done with your assets. And your assets can be your home, or even down to your children.
Right.
It can be, any items that you may own, like cars or your financial accounts and stocks and bonds or family heirlooms, and even down to your body, your person. Estate planning helps you to be able to control and dictate what you want done with all of those things. So it gives the person, while they're in their right mind, while they're capable of making rational and sound decisions, it gives them the opportunity to control that. And it gives them some sense of certainty and security. And if you have spent your life building things, we place a lot of value on the stuff that we get in life, our houses, our cars, all that stuff.
Right.
But if you've spent your life building those things, you don't want to leave it, just to chance as to what will happen with them. So when you sit down with a lawyer, if you come to a lawyer and you say, I want a will or a trust, you're doing that because you want some control, some certainty, and some peace of mind about what's going to happen with your things.
Okay.
And
So go ahead.
yeah, I was just going to say that I'm glad you're asking that question, and that we're going to talk a little bit about that, because as Black people, we don't often make those decisions ahead of time. And one reason is because we are just coming to the place where we own things, where we've acquired some things, homes and stocks and bonds and investment accounts and things like that. So the more we grow financially, the more important it is for these things to be, for these decisions to be made ahead of time. But the other reason is because the law has infiltrated our families and our personal lives so much so nowadays. You can't just say, well, this is what I want done with daddy, or this is what, you've got to have something in writing that says this is what, is going to happen. So the law has gotten real broad and is encroaching on our family decisions. And so you do need to make those preparations ahead of time. You were saying about your experience.
No, I was just, as you talking, I was sitting back thinking about when you said people just think it's, hey, we can go and do whatever that we want with dad and this and that. And I was, I just flashed back to when I was going through my situation. It was so crazy, and it was so how do I put it? It was so crazy about the whole situation. I seen that I was in a situation of, my dad. I went through a period of disappointment, and thinking that I know he got this and that in order and handled, to like, okay, this serious business. To the, I knew when it got serious that my mom had to go to court and actually testify that she had intercourse with my father, and
Right.
contesting. It was silly. It was crazy. It was a game. It was silly that they was contesting if I was
Yes.
actually, his child, because, my father was still legally married to another woman.
Isn't that
So,
something?
yeah.
Yeah.
So it was all a game that the
Mm-hmm.
people behind, I got to make sure I say
I
the
understand.
people behind what was going on
Yeah.
could, yeah. So I knew
And
the
listen,
game.
and it happens on a daily basis.
Right.
I've had those kinds of cases where paternity was in question, and maybe it really never was in question until it came down to, oh, dad left some stuff and I don't want so and so, this
Right.
outside child to get it. So now there becomes this question about paternity. Um, I don't know that a will help you to control that, because obviously if you name your children in your will, then
Right.
that's your way of acknowledging paternity. There's so many other ways that we can protect ourselves from some of these legal challenges or some of this drama, as we like to put it, because it really is.
Drama.
It really can be drama. It really can. People say courtroom drama. It's a real thing. I mean, you can
Right.
sit in there and really never get bored. But a will is one way of acknowledging paternity to eliminate some of that drama. Of course, signing birth certificates or just going into court and having paternity established.
That
So
was
I'm
in
having to do
place.
that.
The
Yeah.
birth
Wow.
certificate was there. It was,
Wow.
it was,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
they
Yeah.
something else.
So that's, I mean, and so we end up seeing those kinds of conflicts a lot. And I will say this, that as many cases as I've dealt with, as many estates as I've handled, seeing it up close and personal in my own family's life gave me a completely different perspective on how to then help my clients avoid a lot of pitfalls. So I know you're a church going man. You understand that these times the Bible said they would come. So, where families would be at odds. So one of the ways to deal with that is to get you a lawyer and really almost have your relationship established with one before you need that lawyer.
Right.
And that way, you know who to run to when you've got a question, and then you can start to work on.
So we go get Miss Nicole on a retainer. that's that's what we need to make sure, as black people, we start getting, having
Yeah,
your attorney on a retainer. So
that's yeah.
retainer, we go put down a couple $1,000, and you going to deduct your hourly rate from that. I mean, if I'm correct, just let me know if I'm stepping over. Don't know what I'm talking about.
No, that's exactly how a retainer works. A lot of people have that question. They say, well, what does that mean? A retainer is literally to retain, to put on reserve that lawyer that says, when I have a question or when I need your services, I've got you on speed dial, basically. And typically retainers, now in my case, typically retainers are, you bill against those retainers. So if you paid $1,000 and my hourly rate is 200, you've got 5 hours worth of my time that I owe you. But that's a good way of building a relationship with a lawyer, having that lawyer there to do some of your family law work for you. And of course, I'm available, and so are many other lawyers in the area for those services.
Okay.
Yeah.
We don't have a will. We briefly, we just went over that. Can you
Yeah.
explain to the people the process of probate court when nothing is in place? Okay, we got to get down to how we're going to sort out this $100 that mama left, daddy left, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
What's the process? What is looking like when
And listen, I tell folks this: if you think your family will not be the one that will be fighting over, spoons and forks, you can listen. I got a bridge I want to sell you, because I promise you, it happens to the best families, the closest families, and it don't matter, as you said, if mama's got $100 or $100 million.
Right.
If it's something someone can get their hands on, unfortunately, it ends up being that way. There's tend to be the opportunity for confusion. So you don't have a will. And I'm gonna be clear. I'm telling folks to get a will before you leave this world, right? But if you don't have a will in place, and that's called an intestate estate. Intestate means there's no will. There's nothing in writing that estate, that person died and their stuff was left without a will to dictate what would happen. You've got, there is a process, and it's hard for me to go through all of the steps, but I will say this: you will have to open an estate in court, in chancery court. You will have to have someone appointed to be over that estate, and really anybody with an interest. Meaning, if I could be a bill collector, a debt collector, and I could open an estate in your name and say, I want to be appointed over his estate because I have an interest in what he left. But typically it's a loved one. Typically it's a child or a spouse that usually gets appointed as the administrator of the estate. That person has got to be responsible for making sure that all of the statutory requirements are met for that estate, meaning we've got to publish for unknown heirs. We've got to publish for creditors that may be out there. We've got to get a bond in place usually to protect the estate in case somebody decides they're going to go gamble with the money, that was left. So we've got to do all those things. And then that person has to take care of the stuff. So if you got a house full of stuff, or you got a business that you were supposed to be running, that person's responsibility is to manage all of that stuff until the estate is closed. It's a process, and you got to have a lawyer. No estate in Mississippi can operate without a lawyer in place to assist. And there's a good reason why, because nobody wants to do that without legal advice. But some of that still has to be done, even if you have a will. Let me be honest with you. Just because you have a will doesn't mean you can completely avoid probate. A trust, you mentioned a trust before. A trust can help you circumvent probate, because everything transfers into that trust either before you die or immediately upon your death, and then it circumvents the probate process. I don't know how much you want to go into it. I don't want to, lose your listeners or your viewers, but I want people to know that we're now, as Black folks, and I know your viewership is diverse, but as Black people, who tend to be 99% of my clients, we are now getting wills. We're now getting powers of attorney. We're now getting healthcare powers of attorney, what they call them living wills. And we're now setting up trust. We hear about trust fund babies and all that, these rich people that live off of these
Those the best
allowances.
babies in the world.
I want to know what that's like.
Right.
Yeah.
Somebody had called me there some years ago, and I can't say what I said, but I look like, really, if you only knew the situation I was left in, a trust fund, baby.
Listen, that would be very nice.
Yeah, what you mad at me for if I was?
But listen, you don't have to have a gazillion dollars to set up a trust. And to I've set up several for clients where, let's say, they may have had $25,000, but they don't want that child to take that money and splurge. So that child gets a little, stipend, so to speak, every month,
Right, we just
until
divide it up and issue a little check out, monthly or every year or
Mm-hmm.
quarterly
Mm-hmm.
or some, like that. But I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
Miss Cameron wants to know: do you only work with clients in Mississippi as it relates to wills and trusts?
For the most part, because that's the law I'm going to be familiar with, I would recommend if they're outside the state that they get a lawyer that's in their state, because they're going to be more familiar with the nuances of the law is in those states. But anybody can prepare a will for you, any lawyer typically, because it's there's a uniformity in preparing a will, and even trust, because trusts are just legal documents for the most part. So most of my clients are going to be in Mississippi, though. So for the most part, that's what I concentrate on.
Okay. So we're gonna move on to. She said, "Thank you."
Oh, tell her you're welcome, and I would just encourage her. A lot of lawyers charge for consultations. Sometimes people don't want to pay for those consultations, but I promise you they're worth it. Whether it's $100 or $200, it's worth it to get with a lawyer, ask them the questions that you have, and then determine from there if you want to retain them or someone else, or what direction you need to go in to protect yourself.
Can we talk about some business taxes?
Sure.
When you file for the taxes, how should you, file C, S corps, and when dealing with, when it come with, the law, how should we structure?
So
I got beat that way too when I didn't structure myself. I lost 35% of my money. I was,
Wow.
You ever heard
and
this?
I'll tell you.
You ever met this dude they call Uncle Sam?
Yeah, he's a tough guy.
I ain't never met him,
tough
but he
guy.
sure take his money on.
You listen, and I'm gonna tell you this: we perish for lack of knowledge.
Right.
There is a tax code, right? And there are so many tax, I'll call them loopholes for lack of a better word, but there are tax opportunities for us out there to avoid having to pay taxes on things that are, that are eligible for tax exemption. We need to learn those laws, and where we cannot, we need to hire either a tax attorney or a CPA.
We need to get DT attorney.
Huh?
We need to go and hire a DT attorney, get one of their friends. DT, the guy that's up there on Pennsylvania Street.
Yeah. So I was thinking about him, of course, when I was framing my response about that tax code and avoiding those tax liabilities.
Right.
Yeah, they've mastered. So again, when I talk about us not being involved in the process of drafting laws that will, that will benefit us, Many of us were not at the table when when that tax code was being written. And when I say I'm talking about diversity, we were not there. It was typically old white men. So think about the fact that a lot of us lack that insight. Get you a tax attorney, get you a CPA, and make sure that you're getting as many of those advantages applied as possible. I will tell you that as a small business owner myself, because I'm in practice, my business runs through my name. I even use my, I don't recommend this. I recommend that you're getting a tax ID number or an EIN to separate your business from your personal. But if you do operate as a solo practitioner, then, you're going to run it through your social. And so you want to use Schedule C. I have to have an accountant. I use a CPA for myself because, you want to segment. If you're in business, you need a lawyer and you need an accountant. So I would tell you to really consider consulting a tax attorney or a CPA for that. But I would advise you, if you're in business for yourself and you're a small business owner, to run your Schedule C. And that'll allow you to be able to deduct a lot of these personal expenses that we have, our home, for home offices, equipment, business meals, transportation, gas, all those things that, we can tie back to our business.
Half of your rent, your mortgage.
All of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that a lot of us don't know about. We think we got to have a physical location outside of our business, outside of our home, but you can write off, a lot of that. One of my best friends is a CPA, and she's always reminding me of, the nuances. So get you a good friend that's a CPA or tax attorney. Right. You better, if you're going to be in business, you better do it right.
Yeah, I heard it's like up to almost like 200 things you can write off when it's dealing with small businesses, and it was a number. It's up there in the hundreds. It's a big number.
Yeah, and I would suspect it may even be more than that, Bert. But
right.
Yeah, we miss a lot. We file those taxes straight up and down. We our taxable income is extremely high when you want it to be as low as possible. Right. keep it moderate to low. Yeah, but again,
possibly zero.
Yeah. And then you have to be careful, because then you got to establish credit worthiness in your business or your personal credit worthiness so that you can go out there and get loans. Because a lot of times us as Black people and people that come to me for business formation documents and such, we tend to try and operate off our own capital, and myself included. I've never taken out a loan to run my law practice, whereas I know others, that's how they manage to build bigger practices, because they got loans. I never did that. But understanding in hindsight, that's how you build one, credit worthiness, but you're also able to kind of make some large leaps in your business by going out and getting some business loans. And so the more we diversify and eliminate redlining and systemic racism in terms of our lending practices, the more we need to be testing those systems and demanding that they give us these loans for our businesses. Right. If nothing else, COVID taught us that.
Sure, COVID, hey, better than taught you something.
Yeah, we better learn.
So, going to this question, when we dealing with, such as, someone that's a counselor or I sign a consent form, as being your therapist, a counselor. It can be a doctor in any kind of form or whatever. Are you still subject to lawsuit after you done signed a form to saying that?
Listen, let me just say this as a general rule. Okay. People can sue you for anything. People always say, can they sue me for that? Can I sue for that? You can sue for anything. The court will allow you to file a complaint or file a petition, pay your filing fee, and open up a lawsuit against anybody for anything. So the question, can you be sued? Yeah, absolutely. Can you be successfully sued? It would depend. But if you're in business, and especially if you are a professional, you do need a set of business documents. And if consent forms or waiver of liability forms or something that that you need to insulate yourself against litigation, use them. But you've got to make sure, one, that they're properly drafted, that they're not overreaching, because you can't expect somebody to sign a waiver that says, I'll never sue you ever in my life under any circumstances. Well, that's too far reaching. I
Right.
mean, you know what I'm saying? It's got to be narrowly tailored to what you're trying to accomplish. Like, okay, if I, come into your practice and, you know, um, I'm just trying to think of a scenario, something that would be a basic waiver. For instance, under COVID, there are there's more frequency of waiver of liability being used for someone, for instance, hairdressers. If you're coming into their practice, into their offices, their salon services now, they're going to want you to sign a waiver of liability or a consent form for services. But it's narrowly tailored to, you understand that we're in a pandemic, you understand I can only take so many precautions, and you understand that if you come in here voluntarily for these services, you're absolving me of liability. That's something people can relate to now, but in just about any business that you're in, you're probably good to have those kind of documents and have folks sign off on them. I use them just for general liability purposes, that I don't make you any guarantees about the outcome of your case. So you
Right.
sign, understanding that, And so, yeah, you need those, and you need them drawn up so that they're good and flexible, not too far reaching. But then you still might get sued, Bert. I can't tell you won't get sued.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So well, once again, y'all, I want to thank y'all for joining us. I got the Queen Nicole. This the Redemption Summit, day 5. We talking about law. We done discuss, different business law, personal law. Um, she's in Columbus, Mississippi.
Yeah.
You ever get into anything, or you just need to retain an attorney, look her up, sit down and talk to her as a sister. We need to support her. And then plus she go look out for your best interest. She ain't gonna take your however many $1,000 and get you railroaded or make not fight for you.
Right.
So you got to understand, just because you go and get an attorney, that doesn't mean he or she gives 2 cents about the outcome of your situation.
Mm.
So
Thank you for
I'm
saying
searching.
that, so I don't have to say it.
Yeah, I got you. I'm searching for an attorney.
Yeah.
What should a client be looking for? From you know what I need to be looking for when I done got in some trouble, or somebody I'm going to probate court, or whatever the situation. When I'm looking for an attorney, what should I be looking to spot? What's the red flags, or what's the final? Hey, I'm going with Miss Nicole. I know she got my best interest.
You need to talk to that lawyer. You don't need to pay anybody um, 1 red cent until you have talked to them. And you need to get a good feel, because your lawyer becomes a fiduciary. So that's a position of trust and responsibility. And if your life is, at risk or at issue, if your business or your assets or whatever it may be, your family, your children, you want to make sure this is someone that you can trust. And I understand that everybody doesn't have a spirit of discernment, but we get good feelings, and we have situations where this person is a good fit and maybe this other person is not a good fit, or maybe that person is not a good fit and the other person is. So you want to talk to that lawyer. I would also say that the reputation is a factor as well. And understand now, every experience is not the same. Somebody may have had a bad experience and they may be lying on that person,
Right.
or they may be exaggerating, but reputation is something to consider. Okay, well, who's had a good experience with this person, and what can they tell me? And then, don't, to me now, I've had people ask me, well, can you guarantee me you're going to win this? And typically those people I will choose not to do business with.
Can I can
Um,
I can I say something?
yeah.
I know some attorneys that can guarantee some stuff. I done been in that situation that I knew what was going on before I even walked into the courtroom.
Mm-hmm.
But in my situation, and a lot of people's situation that I was around, and we ran together, and we knew the night before what the outcome would be. So we go through the process. You have to, you already. It's a cold game. You have to be, with some, sometimes it's good to have an attorney that's in the clique, you know.
Mm.
Sometimes, it's good to have that, the attorney, the judge, and it's a lot of things that goes on that people,
But let me tell you this: you live by the sword, you're gonna die by this sword. If you live by that sword, you're going to die by that sword. And true, I understand what you're getting at.
yeah,
And people know that. And I've had people ask me those kinds of questions. That's not the way I practice law. So when
right,
they see me coming, they know I'm coming on the facts, I'm coming on the
right,
law, I'm coming on my integrity.
right,
So
right,
that's just how I choose to practice law. Now,
right.
if you know,
Hey,
but people say that. You hear that all the time and say, oh, it's good, to know the law, but it's also better to know the judge. I've heard
hello,
that. Yeah,
hello.
yeah, yeah,
Can
yeah,
we
yeah, yeah.
have dinner before court tomorrow?
And listen, do both.
Right,
Know the law and know the judge as
right,
well.
right,
Yeah,
right. I
yeah,
was, I
yeah.
just, I was fortunate enough. My dad knew a lot of people, so But also what I also learned in this process, Nicole, when the tables turned, my father was getting sick. Right, he wasn't as powerful in the Golden Triangle no more. Hell, I became a regular client. So like you said, you gonna live by it, you can die by it.
Yes.
It was so crazy. Like I used to be able to pick up the phone and call you, man. Hey, this little Bert, what we need to, oh, don't worry about it. Now you don't even answer my calls.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I understand. So
Yes.
it was
That
fun
and
being
that
a
those
client.
are some of the games. And I'm
Right,
gonna say this. That is one of the reasons why I practice law. Because I want folks who don't know anybody to get
right.
the same good quality representation as the person that's got all the hookups. I want
Right.
them to have that. And I want them to know that I'm not gonna sell them off I'm not gonna trade them off with somebody else.
Oh,
I don't make those kind of shady deals.
oh.
So yeah.
Nicole, the game is, hey, I'm gonna speak on it a little bit. These are my words. Nicole's not saying none of this, so don't y'all go out and tell nobody. Nicole was on that show with that man talking about this and that. Attorney
Right.
Nicole is not saying this. I
Please.
have seen them trade people,
Hmm.
meaning that, hey, I'm gonna let Lil Bert slide, but
Hmm.
him right here, he has
Hmm.
to, and
Hmm. Hmm.
even I'm like, it's,
Yes.
I can't, I wasn't crazy enough to say, oh, Your Honor, don't, it's just part of the game that it's like we just trading off. I'm gonna let you ride. But this one right here, it can be a small, it probably be a felon or whatever, but it's not something that's warrant 10, 15 years. It's,
Right.
man, I don't,
So I had a mentor, Richard Burdine, and I inject him every chance I get because he taught me the ropes like nobody else. And I've worked for, large white defense firms. I've worked for legal services. I worked in practice for myself.
right.
But some of the greatest lessons I learned about how to be a lawyer was Richard Burdine. And one of the things
He always had that pencil in his head.
that's him.
Yeah. He
And our
always had that
practice is,
pencil.
listen, our practice is this. All our clients are innocent. They are innocent. So
Right.
I'm not going to trade off, Tom
Right.
for Dick or Harry for,
Right.
I'm not going
Right.
to do that. Because my clients depend on me to fight for them. So my job is to operate with integrity, and I'm going to fight for every single one of them as hard as I can individually. So don't talk to me about Charlie if we talking about Joe. Let's keep it
Right.
the main thing. So yeah. And listen, the thing that you're saying is why the profession has some of the challenges that it has, because people are skeptical about whether that lawyer is going to be straight up with them. And I just choose to try and always operate with integrity.
Yeah, I know
I mean,
back in the mid '90s when I was going through my little period of time,
mm,
it was man, it was a crazy world. It was a crazy world going. into the courtrooms and just
Yeah.
seeing just how the behind the then being able to some judges and lawyers stop by my father's funeral home and just to hear the conversations that
Mm-hmm.
actually it's
Mm-hmm.
like I say the trade off. I mean it goes back to you know I guess like back in the times of slavery. We hey is this a good Negro we
Exactly.
gonna let get by, or I mean, meaning that if I'm gonna get a good return on my investment if I let him slide slide
Wow.
by, or
Wow.
you know what I'm talking about. So
Mm-hmm. 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 And I think a lot of people understand the nuances. They understand those sort of
right,
dynamics, and that's why people don't trust the system.
right,
Um, I'm hoping that we are turning a corner in some ways with our district attorney and as we continue to diversify. Listen, I do want to say this: we have got to educate ourselves on these systems that we operate in. We need to know the financial system. We need to know the legal system.
right,
We don't need to be surprised. We gotta know the lingo.
right,
If you've never sat in a courtroom and watched proceedings happen,
right,
you need to do that because those at some point or another you're going to either be a juror or a family member of somebody going through
right.
something or a defendant or at some point you're going to be affected by that system. You need to get in there and familiarize yourself with it. And the more they see our faces, especially with intelligence, then the more transparent they have to be about how they handle these matters that come before our judges.
Yeah, cause boy,
So
I'm telling you, I don't know what's going on now. I've been out of that world for a long, long, long time, but
yeah, good.
yeah,
Yeah. But
yeah,
for those
Miss
that are going through it every single day, that's a word to the wise is to familiarize yourself with that system.
yeah, Miss
So
Tara, she said back when we was talking, she said exactly. It's not about the hookups. It's about law, fair practicing. So let's get
absolutely.
into this.
Yeah.
Cause I see you, I follow you on Facebook,
Okay.
and you just briefly spoke on it. What are your thoughts, about the injustice system that our black men and women face every day that God gives us another opportunity, another day not earned nor deserved to go out into the world, and we come up dead. Sometimes a lot of us don't come back home, or sometimes we get pulled over, arrested for a $20 piece of rock. We talk crack cocaine. We talking about 10, 20 years. We got these different informants. We got entrapment out there that they don't even follow those rules. Um,
Mm,
let's talk about this injustice system.
wow.
Your thoughts on it.
Yeah.
How, as an attorney, let's take away that. Let's take away the attorney hat.
Mm.
But in the law, how you seeing it? What's going on?
Well, I wish I could not be an attorney when I answer the question or when I have this dialogue, but I can't. Um, I'm the mother of a 24-year-old Black man, and who, by the way, is going to one day be an attorney, and God willing, and prayerfully, he will be light years better than I ever have been. Um, but
You
one of the
going to
things
Ole
that
Miss?
no, 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 he's got his sights set on going west.
Okay.
He is definitely not of the ilk that would go to University of Mississippi.
Yeah,
However,
rebel.
that is where I received my law degree after attending the JSU, Jackson State University. So
We
I'm
got prime
grateful.
time down there now. What prime time go do?
Listen, we're watching the clock. We can't wait for that big announcement tomorrow. So hopefully it goes our way.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But my son is a young Black man, of course, living in this world that we live in, this nation. But he's a student of the world, so I would say the world. And so, of course, my perspective is that as of a mother, but it's also as a Black woman, and it's also as an attorney, a practitioner. So I see things, from various perspectives, as most of us do. We bring a lot of different views, to the table. One of the ways that we will begin or continue to make progress, and I say begin because I think we're in a revival. We're in a restart period. This between COVID and just all of the from probably Trayvon Martin on back, we are in a revival, because when your Martin Luther Kings and your Thurgood Marshalls and others were fighting civil rights, that struggle, they were entrenched in the legal system to create laws that would help to break down a lot of those barriers and to give us some equal access to things. We got that access, and then we kind of went to sleep for about 30 years. So we're waking back up now because the environment is becoming so volatile. So when I say, what I see, that revival is us getting back to the place of, obviously, speaking out, peaceful resistance, demonstrating all of those things, having those different vehicles where we're voicing our opposition to injustice. But we've also got to use the legal system. We've got to have lawyers that go back to like the days of legal services that would fight these fights in federal and, our federal court systems and our, even our state court systems to attack these institutions. So when you have a police department that is corrupt, you need to sue them. You need to literally sue those police departments, force that transparency. We need to know, okay, what are your arrest rates? What is your mortality rate? In terms of are Black men or Black women dying, more frequently at the hands of police officers, and if so, why? What are you doing internally? What are your internal processes? We got to start to address it that way. The marching and all that, those things are great. But until you change the law, until you change the policies, the heart issue, that's between them and God. We can preach all day, we can pray all day, that's great. But at some point, we've got to put rubber to the road, and we've got to challenge these systems. And so for me, that's the way I look at it. Yeah, it frustrates me. Yeah, I'm upset. And yes, I speak out about it, and I'm very vocal about some of those social issues. But until we get back to where, Arthur, and I love going back to Thurgood Marshall because he was just the architect of civil rights law. Until we get back to those places, Mary Wright Edelman and others, we're going to have to hire lawyers, fund them, and let them do the work for us in the court systems. People say they get tired of seeing Ben Crump on TV, and I'm sure you're familiar with him, but he wouldn't be there if there were not cases where people were being mistreated or where they were being murdered or whatever, that creates an opportunity for him to have to be out there at the forefront. But we need lawyers like him. He's a new age civil rights lawyer.
And he putting his life on the line.
Every day.
You don't think they trying to kill that man?
Exactly.
Then what be so crazy? What's so you used to hear it about Reverend Al, Mr. Sharpton. Now you hear about Ben. Well, don't go get him if you trying to win a case or whatever. What people don't understand, when those families are hiring those attorneys, they're not they're not trying to win a case of, did you kill my child or my husband? They going through the process of, when the legal system get done, we're gonna get a civil suit.
Yeah,
that's what I'm. Then Black people,
that's why he's hired,
ma'am.
That's why he's hired.
Right. I don't know if they think he's a defense attorney that he's going in. I don't think we take the time to get an understanding of, if something happened to my child, I'm coming to get Miss Nicole to represent my family. She's not representing me as a defense attorney.
Right.
She's there to watch over all the litigations that's going on. So when they do whatever they go do, she finna fire off on your, tomorrow. We finna get down like that. And people don't understand that. You think Ben want to be flying for these different cities?
Yeah.
You actually think that man want to fly to these different cities?
Listen,
about
and
it.
in regard to, I don't recall the most recent case. There was an incident. I don't recall where it was. It happens so frequently.
It's
But
so
but the next day, you know, I want to say that same night, if not the next morning, he boarded a plane and went to the
Oh,
location.
that's the one got shot 7 times in the back in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
That may have been it. That may have been it.
Right.
Well,
So
you
many of
know,
them.
I thought about it. This man has to be on call constantly, all the time. You need somebody out there who has visibility, who has a voice, and who has a track record of not just winning, because once it's determined that the police were in the wrong, and that's not really necessarily his job to do at that point, but who has a track record of standing, on these issues and standing, with these families. You want that. You want that
Right.
if it's a high profile case, obviously. But beyond that, people need to know who the players are. So you need to know what the role of the attorney general is when those things happen. You need to know what the role of the prosecutor or the district attorneys is in that scenario. Ben has a certain role that he plays, and yes, he may end up having to file a civil suit and actually pursue it in court. But 9 times out of 10, he's not going to have to do that. He's literally there to watch over that process and make sure that family is properly compensated financially. Now, when it comes to will charges be brought against an officer, then that is determined by your district attorney or your attorney general.
Right.
Those are different lawyers and they play a different role. Ben's job is not now. Yes, should he sue those cities, or should he have, where he's forcing those cities to take accountability for their practices and their policies? Yes, absolutely. And I think he's doing some of that as well. But do know that he can't bring a cop to prosecution, and he
Right.
can't, none of those things he's going to be able to do.
I don't know what I might.
It's just that we don't know. A lot of us don't know. And I'll be
And
honest
we
with you
just started
too.
typing.
And the media will help. Social media is interesting, but the media will also help to portray or to malign somebody. So if Ben Crump has become the voice or the face, and he is getting civil settlements, well, if they don't, they want to discredit his reputation.
Right.
So be careful about toting their water for them. Just know that, when it comes down to it, we need lawyers that are going to be on that front line fighting these cases for us. And if he's willing to do and risk his life for that, or his legal practice and all of that, then my God, more power to him.
Right. Miss Greta,
Mm-hmm.
Miss Greta Johnson. She wants to know, can there be anything done about our incarceration for first-time offenders? I guess offenders on,
Yeah, it depends on if we're talking
yeah,
about violent versus nonviolent.
right. It's
Um,
I'm knowing Miss Greta. She's speaking on non-violent offenses. We
yeah,
understand about if you murder somebody, come on, you know, you
right,
know,
right,
you
right.
go out and rape, molestation, But now molestation and rape, they depending on your color, they don't even care. It's a
Mm-hmm,
joke. You
mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? I guess it's just a hidden thing that they know that the Caucasian race do on a regular basis. But anyway, I'll let you answer the question.
Well, fortunately in Mississippi, we have had some progress made, and that comes from our legislature. Again, knowing what role people play in creating the systems that we live by in our world is important. So you need to know that your legislature writes your laws. Your district attorney doesn't write your law. The district attorney doesn't set the sentencing or the punishment or the penalty. The district attorney doesn't even decide what is considered a violent versus a nonviolent offense.
Right.
So your legislators do that. Those are your state representatives. Those are your state senators. Those are your congressmen, when it comes to federal law. So we got to know those are the people that write those laws. We need to lobby them. And they have made some reform in that area in probably the last 5 years, just progressively kind of inching toward moving more and more offenses to the nonviolent side so that you can avoid over incarceration for petty crimes. They have reduced the or I should say maybe probably expanded some of your crimes. So where, you know, we call them graduated offenses, like for instance,
Right.
shoplifting. You can now probably get as many shoplifting cases as I can count on two hands before it becomes a felony. They've increased the monetary limits, the minimum maximum, so that we've got fewer and fewer people that are going to be
That's
qualified
good.
classified as felonies. That's important, and your
Yeah.
legislators do that. The other thing you need to make sure of is that you look at these judges' records. We vote for these judges, and a lot of us don't even know what they do unless it's a big case that makes the news. Otherwise, it's a lot of stuff that goes on under the radar. You need to do the homework. We need courtroom watchers that watch these judges and get a printout of the action that they've taken in any given court term. So you'll know, okay, what did he give Billy Bob? Okay, what did he
Right.
give Lil Junior? What did he give Pookie? You
Little
know,
Ray Ray.
whatever. Yeah, whoever. Yeah, because you want to know that there's some consistency and that they're not washing one person's hand and then hanging somebody else out to dry.
The DA also, you know what I'm saying, he plays a factor too. We can't just go off,
Absolutely.
you know.
Absolutely. And accountability is key. And these people are elected officials. They live off of our money. They represent us, and we need to hold them accountable by checking to see what they do and then calling them on it when they don't operate with it, with fairness. So yeah, she said, is there something that can be done? Those are some of the things. Watch your court systems, lobby your legislators, call your DAs on the carpet about the cases that they're actually, even the cases that they're indicting, because some stuff they shouldn't even indict. They ought to kick it back as a misdemeanor. You know, you don't have to indict everything. You have prosecutorial discretion. You don't have to indict everything. So yeah, those.
But you know, they got to fill up those private prisons, and you know, I know I just lay back and smile while I talk, and you know, they have to. You know, it's part of the game. You know hey, it's
Yeah,
sad. You know, I got that's just like the case of, you know, a guy, you know, from my hometown, a friend of mine, Sharon Edwards. You know, he got, you know, uh, one crime. You know, he got sentenced twice, 20 state, 20 feds. You know, most of the time people know, you know, when the feds take over, you know, that it overrides the state. You know what I'm saying?
mm-hmm.
Case, but in his particular situation, because his crime involved a judge's son, and you know they had racist officers in Starkville, Mississippi, that was, you know, dealing with his case, and yeah, they stuck it to him. So right now, you know, we just, you know, we talk about him a lot. You see his different, you know, movement he has going on different social media platforms, but it's
Yeah, and we need to stop buying into this narrative that we are somehow more inherently violent than other races of people, because that's not so. We need to, and our DA talks about this, but we need to be looking at other indicators, other factors like poverty, like children growing up, in broken families. Those tend to be better indicators than race alone. So we need to stop looking at that. We need to start addressing those issues and then watch those, the violent or the criminal element kind of go accordingly. But we like to, we listen to them and we let them, and I'm saying that those that are
right.
shaping the narrative tell us that we're somehow more violent, and therefore we have to be treated more harshly, incarcerated more frequently. And that's just, I stand in complete opposition to that, because I know my people.
It's a total lie.
Yeah,
They have to
absolutely.
justify, you know, giving us 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 120 years, or, you know, killing us on the street, because it's nowhere in the history books, even though they done took all of it out the books. It's nowhere in the history books where we have been violent or suppress other races for anything in life. I
Mm-mm.
mean, you find it, like you said earlier, I got a bridge in New York, I would sell it to you and it'd be very cheap. But
Yeah.
you ain't gonna be able to
Yeah.
find it. You
Yeah,
know,
we have to do sociological studies, because then those things, they we have to rebuke and rebut those presumptions that they want us to accept and adopt about who we are as people. Because then you'll walk in those courtrooms, and right now I'm speaking about the lawyers and other people that play a role in those systems. We walk in those courtrooms and we're our judgment is clouded about
Right.
who we're dealing with simply because they may be black and they may have on, low riding pants or whatever.
Right.
Um,
Especially when
you know,
you dealing with dudes like the attorney general out of Kentucky,
my gosh, yeah,
yeah, the Ben
yeah. What a
Carson
waste.
and the
What a
yeah.
waste.
Thank you.
What a
What
waste.
I mean, it's just
Yeah,
like
yeah. What a waste.
it's yeah, what a waste. He don't have
Yeah.
time to handle business, but you make sure you can go and talk at those cats. They funny to me. I see them. I done I see them a mile away. I already know what lie they about to tell. Depending on how they twist their face and their eyes roam, I know what kind of
Hmm.
lie they about to tell. Then you got
Hmm.
some of us that go and they put that.
And listen, and so, you know, one of the things that we can do is to steer more of our young people into the legal profession
Right,
in every aspect of it. And there are so many different roles, so many different opportunities in terms of, the court structures or the legal system
right,
structure. But we've got to get ourselves into these positions so that we are the lawyers, we're the defense attorneys, we're the prosecutors,
right.
we're the court clerks, we're the
The everything.
every role, the probation officers,
Right.
so that we begin to infiltrate these systems, and then we break them down and make them more fair. And when we get in these seats, and this is me talking, just I'm saying what I'm saying. When you get in those seats, don't forget who you are.
Oh
Don't
boy,
forget
they
where you
they
came
they
from.
they
Yeah.
do bad on that now. They get a little title and them abbreviations behind their names and all different type of they forget that you grew up in a project too, Negro. You was eating
I know
some
I did. I know
right.
I
You
did, and I don't. Yeah, I don't
you was
hide
eating
that.
pot of meat too. You had them with sandwiches. Stop tripping. Stop
Yeah,
tripping because you don't
listen. Many of us are just a generation or two away from either sharecroppers or slaves.
yeah. What's
So
wrong with you?
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Those the worst kind though. But like I say, I like to know the devil I'm dealing with than the one I'm not.
I agree. I definitely
So
agree.
hey, Queen, I just wanna Queen Nicole. Y'all in the GT area. What's your counties again? Lee County? Did you say October Hall?
Listen, my clients range from just about every, Lee County, Lowndes County, Clay, Tibahaw, Noxubee.
Well,
Um,
you can
but
cover
most
all
of my,
50, right?
huh?
You can cover all 50 counties in Mississippi.
As many as there are, but I'm gonna be honest with you, and I will tell people this as well. Home cooking is a real thing. And so I tend to refer cases if they're beyond where I generally practice. I used to would take cases everywhere, but what I found out is that there is something to be said about a good, competent lawyer that knows the lay of the land in their area. And so if I have someone that I trust and I can refer people to, I will do that. But if it's something that, they simply need my representation for any place in the state of Mississippi, anywhere in the United States for that matter, depending on what it is, we'll be trying to help folks, but certainly throughout the state of Mississippi. Now, that being said, my folks, for the most part, Columbus, Clay, Ottawa, Knoxville County, for the most part.
Y'all heard it from her. You need your attorney. Go and get your retainer fees together. Uh,
Listen, I'm not here to solicit business.
I'm talking for
I,
you. I'm talking not for you. I'm just talking. I know.
I
I'm
appreciate it.
yeah. I'm just saying. You want your attorney that's going to have be passionate about your situation.
Yeah, for sure.
She ain't gonna sell you. So but yeah,
Nah,
I know you're not here to listen. I'm just want my people to understand what good
absolutely,
representation is about. Cause I done been on
absolutely,
both sides of the table. So
absolutely.
and
Yeah,
I want to thank you
it's
for
my pleasure.
taking the time out and tell your homegirl. I can't remember her name. Your friend. She ain't have to be so hard on me by leaving that S out your name. And you know, I
Listen,
I I, I seen the flyer and and he sent it to me for approval. I can't see good anyway, so I told him, hey, yeah, it's good to go. Then I went back. I said, oh boy, I done made a big
yeah,
mistake. Let me Let me get this
I
straight.
am I am quite used to people mispronouncing my name and certainly misspelling it. But as a black female professional,
Yeah,
and
I see it.
especially having to fight for
Right.
the respect, because sometimes I've been they've told me they thought I was a secretary carrying a briefcase coming into a jailhouse or something. They thought I was somebody else's secretary. So we do that because we know we paid a price to be at the
Right.
table.
I respect that.
Yeah,
I would
for
love that
sure.
when they came, they came for me like that, and it was all good. The same.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I don't, I don't take a lot of stuff to the heart. I done been through so much. I respect, I understand. Like Birdman says, put some respect on my name. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I got you. You
And
might.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you even thinking of me and inviting me. And I know it's impossible for us to cover everything, not only every area that I practice in, but we just can't cover everything that there is
Right.
to know. But what we certainly want people to know is that um, most of us at some point in our lives are going to need the services of an attorney, and you want to make sure you hire a good,
Right.
competent an attorney that knows what they're doing, but also is transparent enough to say if there's something that they need to study a little further or look into it for you,
Right.
that can do that for you. And then that's going to be fair, upfront, and pay your attorneys. Some of us
Right.
we want to get something done.
Everything
So
ain't
we need to
negotiable
keep.
in life. You know.
Oh, it is. It's definitely negotiable.
Yeah, but
But if
they
you
ain't
want something,
negotiable if you done told them you owe me $5,000. Don't come to me till I got 37, and you wonder why I need to. Not saying you do this. I'm not. Once again, I'm not speaking for Miss Nicole.
yeah,
So don't say
I
that.
see.
If the fee 5,000, pay your fee. Cause if you had 3,700, I can't do nothing but put your case out till I get the other 13 now. So don't be talking about she tripping. I wonder why she ain't took like when for yet. You ain't paid your bill. That woman got miles to feed. Hey, you ain't paid
That's
your
right.
bill. It's all good. You gonna go and pay Lawyer Brown. He gonna charge you 20,000 and still give you 30 years. So, let's but I ain't gonna, I'm gonna be quiet because like I said, I know a lot of stuff and I'm just trying to,
I
ride
love your
on
sense
by.
of candor. I love your sense of candor because that's what we need. Some of us don't understand it when we put it nicely. We got to break it
Right.
down. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I know,
for
I
sure.
know, I know all of them. I know
Yeah.
I know when they come in. I remember, like you said, Mr. Bernard. I remember when he come in with that pencil up there. Is sometimes he look like he don't have it all together with his different folding it. But believe me, I done seen him, work some things, and they
Hmm.
didn't like him. All good. Miss, I'm gonna be quiet. I ain't go. They
I
didn't.
understand.
Hey, they didn't.
And
They
and
didn't.
listen and understand this. People will often ask me, why it should it matter if I hire certain attorneys, is race a factor and all that. And I'm not going to say that it has to be, but I will say that experience, perspective matters. When
Right.
you have someone representing you in court that can relate to your experience, and particularly, I find this when I'm not only when I'm doing criminal defense, but even when I'm doing family law,
Right.
when I am representing families, mothers, even fathers, when it concerns their children, and of course families as it relates to estates, having someone that understands your experience makes a difference because then they bring that broad sense and they balance that with the law. And so yeah, it's there's something to be said about having someone that can relate to your experience representing you.
Hey, it's been a great pleasure. Thank you for taking time out your busy Sunday
Absolutely.
to come and hang out, with the old guy, Mississippi Vibes with Bert.
My pleasure. I thought we were gonna get a little bit of blues or something going on as far as our intro music, or maybe you play us something on our way out.
You want oh, I wasn't prepared. I didn't know that,
Oh, okay.
I
Well,
didn't know.
next time have us a little musical extra.
Oh, I got you. I got you. I got you some good old school. I know you like Masterpiece, so I got you some ghetto boys and I'm just messing with you. I got you some
You
Teddy. I got you some
listen.
Teddy. I got you
You
some
you would be
Tyrone Davis.
surprised.
Huh?
I'm very well rounded. You'd
I
be surprised.
know, I know, I know, I
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I know. You're a Delta. You gotta be. I know. Hey,
Shout out to my sorrows.
yeah,
Shout
yeah.
out.
Y'all do good things, man. Y'all been doing,
Thank you.
some good, powerful things in the community. A lot of people,
Thank you.
y'all been doing a lot of good things during the pandemic. I
I
watch
appreciate that.
pay attention
Thank
to
you very much.
everything.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
It's
very
good
much.
time.
You know,
You're
Miss
welcome.
Nicole. See you next time. Go and get y'all a good attorney now. Do not wait and don't be caught up in a situation that I was in 5 years of probate court. And hey,
Yeah, take care of those matters on the front end, and it's never too soon, and but it certainly can be too late. So,
right. And
all right.
anybody that's out there that's watching, I'll be back in 15 minutes. I got the reading night for the kids, you know, but I'm gonna let Miss Nicole go, and we'll see you next time, next Sunday, the final day. We're gonna wrap it up with my friend, my good guy, Pastor Lee out of Starkville, Mississippi. He's gonna bring everything together and how it relates to how God see, how we
Amen.
supposed to act accordingly to the
Amen.
Bible. Hey, see y'all next time.
Have a
Peace.
good night.
You too.
Bye bye.